Welcome to Brainstorm Board Prep. My name is Shannon Green. I hold my registration in EEG, CLTM, as well as CNIM. And this is test taking tips. We'll go over how to study appropriately, what to do the day before the exam, day of the exam, and actually taking the test. The number one thing with studying is study smarter, not harder. You don't necessarily need to read every textbook front to back. What you need to do is find ways to reincorporate information so that you can comprehend it, not just memorize it. Some different ways you can do this are creating your own study guides, explain concepts to others in your own words. I personally always utilized my dogs since they were always with me. Utilize varying studying tools such as flashcards, games, and informational videos. There are tons on YouTube. Next, you want to space out your studying. Don't cram everything in the night before because you're not going to learn anything. You might memorize a couple things, but you won't learn. So cramming does not work. Review material during short but intense study sessions to ensure comprehension, not just memorization. This is very important. Make sure to check your references. ABRET exams have lists of their references within each exam handbook. The handbook is your guide. You want to read the handbook. You want to visit the different references and resources listed within that handbook because that holds all the answers you're looking for. The handbooks also contain content outlines, creating a great place to start studying and creating your own study guides. ABRET does not sanction or review board prep programs, so use caution when deciding which programs to utilize. That includes this one. We are not ABRET sanctioned, but what I've done is created study guides based on the outlines, and then I customize it to you based on areas that you struggle with and have one-on-one sessions with you to help talk through some of those concepts that are challenging you. This next thing I cannot say loud enough, do not brain dump. There are technically two different definitions for brain dumping, but the one I'm talking about is the act of writing down everything you can remember immediately after taking the exam and then either sharing that information with others or writing it down for yourself if you didn't pass and you're going to take it again. This is a direct violation of the ABRET security and non-disclosure agreements. It's also unreliable because it relies on the memory of the test taker and may or may not appear on future exams. We'll talk about the appropriate kind of brain dumping in a little bit. Next, you want to pick a good place to study. Study in places where you have minimal distractions. For me, if a place is too quiet, I start to fill my head with other thoughts. So I need to go somewhere like a coffee shop or somewhere that has some background noise, but I can still focus in on what I'm doing and put headphones on and just have it almost holds me more accountable when I'm around others. Some people choose the library. Like I said, I do the coffee shop. You can even do at home, but do not study in bed. Bed is not the place to be learning. Bed is the place to be sleeping and doing other bedtime activities. Do not study in bed. Go to the kitchen table, go to a desk, go to the couch, go anywhere but your bed. One method that I really like is called the Pomodoro method. And this is where you create a task list and assign time values to each task in increments of 25 minutes. So 25 minutes is one Pomodoro. So you have a 25-minute study session, intense study session, and then you take a 5-minute break. That 5-minute break is mandatory. You have to get up, you have to move around, you have to do something. Once you have 4 rounds of this, you take a longer break, 15 to 20 minutes. And the reason it's called the Pomodoro method is the person who kind of coined it had used a kitchen timer that was in the shape of a tomato. And in Italian, um, tomato is Pomodoro. So that's why it's called the Pomodoro method. In this, I've linked um, the website that I personally use for it. You can put in all of your tasks for the day, how long you expect them to take, and then you can check them off, and it will even turn green when it's time to take a break and red when it's time to focus back in on your studies. Make sure you can commit certain things to memory, such as the foundations like cranial nerves, anatomy, physiology, especially dependent on the exam you're taking. If you're taking the EEG exam, you want to commit um, filter settings, instrumentation concepts, things like that to memory. LTM, you definitely want to focus on EEG terminology. You want to do that as well for the EEG, but more so for LTM, so like the critical care terminology guidelines. For the CNIM exam, you want to commit anatomy and physiology to your memory, as well as, obligate peaks, things like that. All right, so the day before the exam, read through the tough questions. Anything that you've consistently been getting wrong or stumbled with or hesitated on, you want to read through and talk yourself through the correct answers. Make sure you're having good balanced meals and staying hydrated. And of course, you want to get a good night's sleep. Nerves are normal. So if meditation's your thing, try doing some meditations. Do some affirmations. Look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're going to do great. You're going to pass this exam. And even having white noise can help. I don't recommend falling asleep with music or the TV on or anything like that, because that will disrupt your sleep and you are less likely to get a good night's sleep. Make sure you know where the testing center is. I personally, I've been very lucky that my testing center has always been in town. I know a lot of people have to travel to their testing centers. If you do have to travel, drive by it, or, take transit or an Uber or whatever it is to go by it so you can physically see the door you need to go into, because you can't be late. So make sure you know exactly where the testing center is. Also, make sure that you have your ID with you, especially if you had to travel to get there, because if you drove and forgot your ID, no one's going to know until you go and check for it. All right, it's the day of the exam. We had a good night's sleep. We're waking up and having a good, balanced breakfast. We're reading through the tough questions again, but if the tough questions are causing us anxiety, only read through them if you are truly having a hard time grasping the concept. If it's just nerves or anxiety, you have to trust that you know the material. Make sure to take deep breaths and go back to those affirmations. I I am a big believer in the power of positive thinking and manifestation. If you look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to get this credential today. I will be Shannon Green, REEGT CLTM CNIM. I will do this. It's only a matter of going there and doing it. So I'm going to do it. Say your full name, add the credential you're going for at the end, even write it down. Practice. Power of positive thinking is absolutely real. You have to believe in yourself, and that's half the battle. Make sure you get to the testing center early. We've looked at where the door is, we know it's there, but you're likely going to be a little bit nervous. So taking some time to adjust to your surroundings and not have to jump right into the test will help you calm yourself and relieve some of those nerves. All right, so we're checked in. We're about to go back to the testing area. You're going to receive a sheet of paper. I think nowadays it's a laminated sheet and you get a dry erase marker. You have access to a um, digital calculator and digital measuring tape within the software. They don't typically give you like actual ones anymore. So it's all going to be within the computer. You can utilize earplugs or headphones if you would like. Sometimes hearing other people even, cough or sneeze or typing can be really distracting and increase your anxiety. So if you need to have some noise cancellation, they will give you earplugs, or you can use the noise canceling headphones that they have at each station. You cannot bring your own. Once you're settled in, write down anything you have trouble remembering on your sheet of paper. This can be formulas, it can be the cranial nerves, it can be the different nerve roots of the spinal cord, it can be anything. Anything that you're having trouble accessing in your memory and you just need to dump it on the paper. This is the appropriate brain dump that I had mentioned earlier. This is the one you can and should do. This will make it so you don't have to think about these concepts. You just reference the document you've made when a question regarding them comes up. You don't need to think, oh shoot, which one is the accessory nerve? It's cranial nerve 11 because I wrote it down right there. And it's for shoulder shrugging because that's where you put accessories, is on your shoulder. So the exam is, they give you 4 hours, so that's 240 minutes. And I believe now it's 200 questions for both the REEGT and the CLTM. It's either 200 to 250, depending on the exam. This means you have about 72 seconds per question. That should not scare you. Most questions will take much less time than this. And we'll go through how to answer these questions appropriately. First, make sure you're reading the entire question. While the exam's not written to necessarily trick you, it is requiring you to use critical thinking. So search for keywords within the question. For example, which of the following opposes any change in current? Capacitance, impedance, inductance, or resistance? Inductance. So when something is inducted, it's going to insulate it and protect it from any change. So it opposes change in current, inductance. If I read opposes current, I would probably have just clicked impedance right away if I was anxious and going through the test really quickly. So make sure you're reading the question in its entirety. So we're going to go through the exam the first time. If we know the answer, we're going to answer it and click next. If there's any hesitation, and I'm saying, 5 seconds of hesitation, you're going to use your best guess. You're going to click flag on that question, and then on your sheet of paper or laminated paper, you're going to write down the question number and then a keyword. So let's say in our example, it's question 38 and the keyword is filters. So just 38 filters and then go next. But make sure you answer the question with your best guess. If you have absolutely no idea what it could be, like you truly don't know, you're going to pick either A, B, C, or D. For all questions that you don't know at all, you're going to do the same letter choice. You may think it's better to just pick a random one, but if you pick D every time, you have a higher probability of getting more questions correct than if you were to randomize it every time, because it's basically, 1 out of 4 for every single one versus 1 out of 4 for the entire exam or all the questions that you don't know. But again, if you absolutely don't know, still flag it, write down the number and the keyword. That way, if we get through the whole exam before time is up, we can go back to our flagged questions and review them. If we run out of time, then you still have a 25% chance of getting that question correct because you put that answer in. Another reason we want to do this is you may find that answer elsewhere in the exam. So the question could be just written differently and it could have the answer in the question itself, and it makes more sense, and you're able to recall that information. That's why writing down the question number and the keyword comes in handy, so you can cross-reference. And again, like I said earlier, if you truly do not know, select either A, B, C, or D and do that letter for the entire test when you don't know. Okay, take some deep breaths. Anxiety and dysregulation can cloud your thought process. I personally, I don't have the typical test anxiety, but how my test anxiety manifests is I will go too fast. I will maybe not read the question in its entirety, or I will just zip through it because I want it to be over as soon as possible. And once I realized this about myself, I was able to pause, take some deep breaths, and slow down and know that I have plenty of time. You have plenty of time. So just make sure you're reading questions in their entirety and take a deep breath and know that you're going to pass. You just need to click the buttons. You just need to click all the buttons. That's all. Because at this point, you have done all the preparation you can do. So try to release the tension in your shoulders, kind of roll them back. I'm doing it right now. Unclench your jaw and breathe. Above all else, stay positive because you've got this. You have worked so hard. You've worked so hard for this. You've done all the preparations. You've gone through the program. You've committed yourself to the field. You've studied the ACNS guidelines. You've done flashcards, quizzes, crosswords, matching games. You spent countless days bedside with your patients. You know your stuff. Tell yourself you will pass, and you will. And I can't wait to hear that you did.